What up,
What's up,
player?
brother? How we doing?
Living the dream, as they say. Another
Yeah,
day, another day, another dollar.
there we go. Well, literally another dollar, huh?
Yeah, finally got my first sale at my job. It was a relief. It was a long time coming. It felt like weeks and weeks and weeks went by, and I was like, man, I'm calling, and they call it dialing for dollars. That's like the joke around our office, and I'm like, yeah, that's literally what we're doing.
So how
Uh,
did it go? Did you have? Was it a cold call? Was it someone? Was it a prospect you knew was gonna have some bite?
no, it was just pure cold call, and then it had to get sent up through like the corporate chain, and I had to follow up like twice with him, and then it all got sent back to me on, I think it was on Thursday, and then
How did it
finalized
feel?
on. I mean, it was like cool. Wow, it finally went through. If something finally went my way.
Yeah,
It, I don't know. It was different. It was different.
I'm curious because last week we were talking about basically what happens when you go into situations like, well, this isn't gonna go well, and then it goes well.
I mean,
That's
that's
what I
like
thought of.
it's kind of like my attitude. Like for every call, it's like, dude, what am I doing? Like I got on a phone call with like a Mexican restaurant, and I speak a little Spanish, like very little, but I can
Oh, I've
navigate.
heard you. I've heard you.
I can navigate. So I'm talking to her, and so when she answers the phone, it's like super Latino, whatnot. And I was like, okay, like I was like, can I talk to, or who's the owner? And they're like, huh? Like they ask questions, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I go into my Spanish little routine, and they're like, oh, not here, not here. And I'm like, oh, in Spanish, of course. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, so can I speak to the manager? And so she doesn't put me on mute or hold, and I can hear the conversation in the background. And like this is at the end of my day on Friday, and I was just like, after you make like 150 calls and you're not getting anywhere, and like you keep getting stonewalled, you like I don't know, the frustration started to kick in for me, and I was like, man, like I'm just kind of annoyed. So like she ends up hanging up the phone without saying anything. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, whatever. So I call her back right immediately. I was like, hey, like I was just on the phone. Like you said you were gonna grab your manager. Like, what's up? Like, why'd you hang up? And all of a sudden her English got 200% better. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, really? And I just like I honestly I heard the conversation in the background like with their manager, and I was like, man, this is just it just kind of like it was like one of those things that it was like, man, I really need to check my emotions, but I just kind of I just
What
kind of
was it?
called.
Was it like they were saying they weren't interested? You heard all the bad stuff?
She was just like, no, I don't want to talk to him right now. Like it's like no, yeah. She was just the manager was like, I'm not talking to him, blah blah blah.
Now, what are you
And
selling exactly? I know it has baseball related stuff, right?
yeah, I mean it's actually football right now. So like I have a Louisville Cardinals as my project. And so like when you walk into a state, this is literally my sales pitch. When you walk into a stadium and like they're selling like the yearbooks or the pamphlets with like all the teams, like all the pages, all the stuff in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like I'm selling the advertisements in those.
Mm. How much does that go for?
I mean, it ranges from $990 for a business card size to a full page at 14.5.
Really?
Really?
Wait, 1,400?
No, $14,500.
No way.
Yeah, so the goal is to get people to buy full
Okay,
pages, but
now
but you're
what's the
calling mom and
conversion
pop
rate?
shops.
I'm sure you have these numbers. What's the conversion rate if someone's paying that much money? What can they I mean, obviously expectations, you can't expect anything. But off the numbers, how much more business have people gotten from getting a full page or getting on there at all? Do you have anything like that?
My guess is minimal. Yeah, and like we're supposed to say it's like 10 to 20% of the people that attend games buy these programs. So I
Oh, so you
mean,
have to buy the program.
right.
Oh, I see. I thought it was the pamphlets that you get with not a directory, but
I mean, it's like those nice magazine quality. Like, it is actually a
okay,
beautiful
I
publication.
gotcha.
Like they are really cool. Like as far as like what they are. Like it's if you got like a where are you at? You're in New York. If you got a Yankees yearbook or a Mets yearbook, like they're nice.
I think, and it has like the player on the front. Is that what it is? Like it's a team oriented thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
my mom got one actually when she came when she drove my car out to Springfield when I went to Double A, and she stayed for obviously a few of the games. She bought one of them, and it's just
Yeah.
sitting in our living room actually on like the coffee table, and I look, it's what's his name, Carlson, the
Dylan.
Dylan Carlson, yeah, and I'd imagine that's exactly what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting. I
So
didn't realize. I remember you said you were sports oriented and advertising stuff. I didn't realize
so like the
exactly
three
where it was coming from.
the fun part of the job is what I've been told is like when you get it. So like the three
What
higher
have been
size.
told, like you haven't experienced.
No, I haven't. So the three higher sizes come with tickets. So like then you're like building a relationship with the people and you're like, hey, like what game do you want to go to? I have so
I
like
see.
Clemson and Kentucky come to Louisville. And so those are going to be huge games, and they're probably going to be night games, big games. So it's like if I sell a quarter page, then I get to give the company 2 tickets.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
or like if they buy a full page and you get 6 tickets or whatever, however it goes. But I mean, that's like, so like then you like get a call them back and instead of selling, you're like, hey man, like I get to give you, 2 tickets. What game do you want? I'll try to get you the best seats possible in the house.
So did you sell a full page or a quarter page?
I got
Or
a
business size?
quarter page.
Sick.
Yeah.
So
I
business
get
card's 900, quarter page, or business card is 900, full page is 14,500.
quarter
What's
page
a
is
quarter?
a quarter page is $50 short of $4,000.
Very nice.
So I mean, dude, it like when I have like good conversations with people, whether they buy or whether they don't, it's like, okay, like that was cool. Like you get to learn about a lot of people's businesses, but like when it's just like, I had this lady, they call them gatekeepers, like the people that answer the phone. Like I had this lady and she won't give me the owner's name. She won't give me the owner's number. And like the only person that's writing the check is the owner. Like that's it. Like it's mom and pop shops. And like, so I've called her 3 or 4 times and she answers every time. And every time she just gets more mad. And I'm like, look, like, I literally was like, this is my job. Like, I have to call you. And I was like, we can't go anywhere because I can't get any information from you. I was like, the conversation could be way easier if it goes, like if there was a little more receptivity. And I was like, I don't like, if he doesn't call me back, that's fine. But like, he is the only guy that can tell me yes or no. And I have to keep calling until the business owner, whether she or he, can tell me yes or no. Like I can't take a no from a gatekeeper.
Got it.
You get what I'm saying? So like,
I guess policy.
I mean, it's not policy. Like you can, but like it's like she's picking up the phone. Like I know it. Like she's just refusing to give out any information. Like she's just being difficult. Which like honestly, for the owner, that's probably a good thing. Like, but for me, it's not great because I'm a salesperson.
Yeah.
Right. So like, it's tension heavy there. But like,
how many calls do you get, or you go into your pitch and they hang up on you?
Oh, so okay. The average amount of calls I'm probably making right now is right at 150
Per day.
Per day. I would say of those 150 calls, 75 to 100 go to voicemail. And then I would say,
and how crisp are your voicemails now? It is just like
you don't even leave a voicemail until like you call the business 5, 6, 7 times.
Oh, same day?
No, like throughout the week. Like if a week goes by and you didn't get a hold of anybody, then like that following Monday, I leave a message.
Got it.
So then let's just say arbitrary number, like the 50 calls that I have left that people answer. A lot of the times you're still dealing with gatekeepers. You're still trying to get, so I would say 25% of those is either getting the owner's name, getting the owner's information, owner's not in, when will they be in? And then I have like 10 to 15 pitches a day. And of those 10 to 15 pitches a day, 4 to 5 of them hang up halfway through. 4 to 5 of them let you get to the end of it and be like, yo, we're not interested. Like, and they're not in. And then, the other 5 are, dealing with rebuttals. 1 or 2 might be interested. And you're sending an email and a proposal then. But, of those 5, a likelihood they're still not interested. They're just, bantering with the salesperson for fun.
Now, how much room for negotiation is there? It's obviously not a hard price, but
and that was like some of the fun. Like last week, Thursday and Friday were probably my Wednesday and Thursday were probably my best days because we have a script, and that's kind of the training process. Is you kind of like write down your script and figure it out. I started following the script, so I got into a few more price negotiations, and that was probably the fun part, like a more fun part of the pitch side of it, because like you're getting a guy that's interested, and then you're anywhere from 10 to 20%, and then they have a clear, which a clear is like a bottom line that if you go below the 20%, you gotta go to a manager or somebody higher than you in order to get that taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. There are times where you're just like, man, like I could do without being on the phone, but I don't know. I was on my way home yesterday and I called my buddy Winder, and he knows what I'm doing. He's like, "You're not sick of being on the phone?" I was like, "I'm just sick of being on the phone with people that don't want to be on the phone with me."
Fair.
Like,
yeah.
My first couple of weeks, it's like I felt rushed because I knew the other side of the phone didn't want to be on it, and like now I'm trying to take my own advice and slowing down that process of just like, hey, if they answer the phone and they're there, just take my time and go through it rather than like trying to rush for their benefit, because if they're there, like, they have time. If they don't have time, the guys will let me know and be like, hey, call me back on Monday, call me back in an hour, so it's just like, take my time, have some confidence, speak with some fluidity, because sometimes I was like talking like this and I'm like going through my pitch like this, and I don't know if you've ever been on the other end of the phone, but like it gets very muffled, and like I'm dealing with a cheap mic, so I know they don't hear me well, and especially when I'm rushing it doesn't go well. And
what if you brought this mic?
I mean, the problem is I don't have any plug-in. I mean, I guess I could try. I mean, that's not a bad idea. It's actually a really good idea.
Worth a shot. If you have a shitty mic. We fixed all the gains and everything. You're good now.
I just gotta find a way. I gotta find a way to plug in my headphones so I can hear them.
Well, there's a headphone jack.
Yeah,
in
but
here.
remember when we plugged it into the headphone? I couldn't hear nothing. I'll try it out. On Monday, I'll try it out. We'll see what happens.
I wonder why. Because these things, they don't. It's like, what do you plug your headphones in so you can just hear yourself talk? I guess it makes no sense.
I don't know. Well, it's a great idea, and I'm going to try it. But
how much when you go in these conversations, right? And obviously, you treat these conversations differently than if you meet someone new for the first time. But how much personability is there at the beginning of it, rather than jumping into the intricate information? Are you interested? Money. Obviously, you have to get to it pretty fast, or else you lose their interest, because they're like, all right, listen, I don't even know you. Why get to the point? But how much room is there at the beginning, whether it be 10 seconds, 15 seconds? I'm not sure. Like, do you try to make it personable at the beginning to somewhat? Because then if you do it too long, then they're just like, dude, let's get to the point.
Yeah, so there's definitely a fine line. You definitely want it to be a conversation, because those people then lower their guard down. So let's just say I call you, you're the owner, I get you on the phone. I would be like, hey Luca, my name's Zach, and I'm with the University of Louisville. The reason I'm calling is I'm putting together the yearbook for Louisville football. It's the official souvenir magazine that's going inside the stadium, and I figured it would be a great way for your business to align with Louisville and reach out to the 60,000 fans. Are you a big fan of the Cardinals? And then that's kind of where the conversation piece comes in. So it's about I would say a 15 to 35 second, ordeal.
Yeah.
And then like once they like my manager was like, hey, like after you ask that question, like don't go right into the dollar signs and the sizes. Like
Yeah,
make it a
exactly.
conversation. Like, hey, do you go out
Mm.
to a game? Like, hey, are you big fans of the Cardinals? Well, no, not really. Well, like, would you be interested in going to a game? Like, do you like football? Like, is the reason that you haven't gone out to the like one guy was like, dude, I don't have any time. Well, I was like, well, I mean, Kentucky's a night game. Like, it's going to be a night game. Like I saw online, your business closes at 6. Game starts at 7:15.
Mm. Back into a corner.
Right, and then you kind of kind of like hey like let's break it down. Let's have a conversation. And like the people that I've had a conversation with, like there was a used bourbon barrel guy called me, and we had a 25-minute conversation. And from the rip, he goes, hey, I'm not buying. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But I was just like, I was so tired of like talking to people that didn't want to be on the phone. We had a 25-minute conversation about bourbon barrels, and he's like, dude, there's a company called Midwest Barrel Company. Give them a call. So like I got a referral out of just having a conversation with this guy. And 25 minutes is
Yeah,
probably an exaggeration.
beautiful.
Yeah, right. It's probably an exaggeration. But then there was another guy. There was another guy working in St. Louis, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm in St. Louis. Like, blah blah blah, this and that, and my brother's down in Louisville, yeah." And all of a sudden, he gives me a cell phone number to the person that I've been trying to get a hold of for a week. And it's like, oh, so like those conversations like lead into something more. So like I try to turn everything into a conversation, because like whenever you're just getting pitched at or like talked at, you're
Yeah, exactly.
it's not very good.
Yeah. It's a tough gig. I mean, cold calls, it's tough. At least if you have leads, it doesn't mean it's easy, but these people are at least what they did on their end is they showed some type of interest to put their information there for a call. So somewhat there's something there. So, I mean, cold calls are tough.
It's interesting. I've learned a lot about the comfortability of being on the phone. And I like talking about. I was talking to my buddy. Like, it's like if I want a job now, I'm just gonna go through this process. I'm gonna look up online who like an HR specialist is and be like, yo, I'm not gonna get off the phone until I find this HR specialist and get an interview. Because like it's kind of incredible. Like I didn't realize how far you could get on the phone.
What we do, people nowadays, they don't want to talk. Everything's texting. Everything's
Right.
just everything is just on, I mean, yeah, on their time, of course, that's fine. But when you need something, you can't rely on someone to just respond to a text message. They got shit going on. So if you want something, call someone. If you want to talk, if you truly want to talk to somebody, call. Because then, of course, if you call, well, then your back's on the wall too. Because then now it's in the moment. You got to do your job just like you expect them to give you what you want. You got to be able to put it on the line, put it out there.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, calling people nowadays, especially the younger generation, dude, they're terrified of calling, just like they're terrified of face-to-face conversation, because they don't. There's no buffer area to think of a response, to be witty. There's no time to think, oh, maybe I should. No, I'm not gonna respond. I'm gonna delete that. Once you say it, you said it. So, it's a skill. A good salesperson, man, they're very powerful in a lot of different aspects of life, rather not only in their profession, because the ability to speak, be witty, I mean, it's really, really impressive.
And I've stepped on my tongue a few times, like said the wrong thing or said the wrong company or said the wrong name. And the minute that you like step on your tongue, the instant rejection. It's so yeah.
But you said the wrong company, like speaking of to the person, you said the wrong company that they.
Well, it was a clothing store, and on my little like description thing, it said a men's clothing store, and so I called it, and I should have, right now they don't give us internet access, but I should have. It was like Indigo something, and I should have been like, okay, like probably not a men's clothing store. Like I should have used some, rationale. But anyway, I was like, I pitched her, and I was like, dude, I think it'd be a great way to reach all the people that all the men that come into the stadium, and she's like, I don't sell to men, and she hung up.
Wow.
I know. And it was like, I literally wrote in my notes, I was like, I stepped on my tongue, like I just,
Yeah.
I missed, I whiffed.
Now, how often do you find yourself in this job where, I don't want to say you're committing, because you're not committing a sin, but the sin of omission versus commission?
The thing I don't like about it is that I feel that I have to lie.
Yeah. But the thing is it a lie in the sense that you're blatantly lying, or you're just telling half of the truth, or a quarter of the truth, or an eighth of the truth? Because that's what will help you get the sale.
You're upselling. You're making it seem better than it is.
Yeah.
So like the place I bought, like it was that bought from me. It was Floor and Decor, and I got to a general manager, and he was like, "Hey man, like I don't really make the decisions, but this is what I'll do for you." He goes, "I'll send in the paperwork. I want to do it. I'll tell them I want to do it, and we'll go from there." And then, like I said, I had to follow up with him 2 weeks later, and I didn't have to upsell him. I didn't have to be like this and that. Like, I'm like, oh, sick. But like the one I'm excited about is I'm trying to get GameStop on the phone. Like, I know it's not a mom and pop. I'm supposed to be working mom and pop, but I want to get GameStop on the phone because I think I have like.
Sorry, wait. You get mom and pop shops. You're charging them $14,000.
I mean, no mom and pop shops buys a full page. Those are mostly eighth and quarters.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But I'm trying to get GameStop because I think I actually have a great reason to buy. Like, one, that NCAA game is new and it's like hot. And like with all the NIL stuff, like you get a family or you get like somebody in there. Like I was like, man, if I could get GameStop on the phone, like I'm in their corporate chain right now. Like I have their corporate marketing department. And I'm like, when that card comes up, like it's about the only card I'm excited about out of my 220 cards that I have. Because like I actually think that I have a real reason that would actually help them. You know what I mean?
You're
Like
only doing Louisville?
Yeah. Right now.
Do you work? So your employer, is it Louisville, University of Louisville?
No, I work with a publisher. This is crazy. You're actually helping me so much. My employer is PSP or USP, University Sports Publications. I'm probably, I don't know if I'm airing out their dirty laundry, but whatever.
Wait, why am I helping you?
Because you're going through like all the rebuttals. Like, this is what owners say on the phone. Who do you work for? Where are you at? Why are you calling? So like I don't have the script in front of me, so like I'm just going off of memory.
I see.
And this is actually a conversation rather than me rushing around looking for the answer.
Is that what you usually do? Like you have things like spread out in front of you?
I have 4 pieces of paper that have way too much information on them.
Yeah, so basically, does this company give you the clientele for a certain period of time and then you move on to a new thing? Or are you Louisville, is that what you focus on?
So like Louisville obviously has football, baseball, basketball, and like you'll sell football for X amount of time and then you'll move on to a pro, like then NFL starts, so then you'll get an NFL team. Like they do all the NFL, like they do majority of the professional teams, like upwards of like 95%. So like, I mean, there's never not a time to call. And as far as leads go, they just send you leads are just the businesses in the area. So like I get a lot of repeats and then you'll like come across the same name, like the same general manager, the same owner. And you'll be like, dude, I just talked, like I'm looking for that guy. Like there's this guy that owns a tavern and 2 burger joints and something else. And I'm like, dude, I can't get a hold of this guy. But I was like, if I get this guy on the phone, like we have a chance.
You say local, you mean local to obviously the area. You don't mean local by you.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, everything's Louisville area, correct.
But GameStop wouldn't have to be.
No, GameStop is a corporate, but they have 2 offices. So it came across my cards, and so I called it. It's like, hey, this is GameStop. So I spoke to the GM, His name was ironically Zach, and I was like, "Yo, dude, like I would love to get them involved." He's like, "Dude, this sounds like a great idea," but he goes, "I can't do anything." And I was like, "All right, well, give me your corporate number." And I was like, "I'll go to bat for you." And I'm in that process of finding somebody in corporate to talk to. Like I'm trying to talk to the director of marketing at GameStop, literally.
So this would be, you think this would be a new thing for them? Like they don't have anything like this? Because here's the thing, I'm not, with GameStop, do they need to have advertisements and these kind of things to get kids seeing their games? You know, I feel like with
No,
these,
but
all these
to me,
games and everything.
so to me, you would put GameStop and then you would highlight the NCAA football game. So like a mom or a dad that is scrolling through the pages is like, oh, like my son loves football. Let's get him this game. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily, I'm not to the kids. I'm not pitching the kids. You know, you still want to market to the decision maker. So it would be like, hey, like GameStop, like if the families are going to the games, like how many kids 12 and younger have an Xbox, PS3, or whatever?
Probably a good amount.
Right. And how many times does a new football game come out? Every year. So if you get them excited there, like, hey, what's a Christmas present for my kid? Like, oh, let's go to GameStop and get him the NCAA game.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You get, or like the kids flipping through it and he's like, Dad, look, I want it. And Dad's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Like, you get what I'm saying? And then not only are you getting that immediate crowd, you're getting everybody around him too. Like, and how many students play that game? So like, I think to me, it's one of the businesses I was like, man, like this would be neat to get them on the phone because like I actually have a genuine reason for them to be in here. Like I think it would actually benefit them. Like I think they would get an ROI on it.
ROI.
And I don't know if I have return on investment.
Oh. Well, also to them, I feel like a page is nothing. GameStop 14,000. I don't fucking care.
And again, I don't feel like I'm, ripping money away from people that actually need it. That's a secondary thing too. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I can see that's I feel like it's tough on your end because you can't give answers. They want answers. They want to hear, if you give me this money, if you give me $4,000, 3,800, whatever it is, right? You will get more clientele. We can't tell you how many more people are actually going to buy, but you will get more traction. You can't even say that because you don't know. So it's just all speculative, and the speculation is just on their end because you can't give them numbers, you can't give them anything. And so at that point, it's just, well, do I have the money laying around to just give this a shot? I feel like
a lot of it comes down to supporting the football team. Like a lot of it is less about advertising and more like the one guy's like, dude,
how much money does the football team get from it though? None. Are you guys giving them? Because obviously you're not getting 100% commission. So if
I don't know how
of the cut that you get, the rest of the cut, the company gets some. Does it go back to Louisville?
Well, I guess in a way. So like, we're buying the rights to put the advertising in there. So like wherever that money is going, I'm assuming to the athletic department, and then, whatever the trickle down effect is like you have to play your executives and then your employees or whatever. So your management, then your employees. But yeah, so I would say like indirectly that sale leads to a boost in the athletic department somehow, some way.
Probably just goes to the money pool, honestly.
Right.
That they disperse. Whether it goes right to football, I don't know how it works, but yeah, I guess.
So like the PSP company is buying the rights for X dollars to put advertisement. So the reason they want to sell advertisement is to cover that cost of buying that right to publish the book. You get what I'm saying? So like arbitrarily, I have no idea what the number is. Let's just say it's a $30,000 fee. So Louisville charges PSP 30,000. So they're like, hey, we need 2 pages of local ads to get us to 35,000. So we make 5,000 on that book.
Yeah.
Arbitrary numbers, not real numbers, just theorizing. So then that 30K technically goes to Louisville football or the U.
You're doing football, Miami too?
No. I meant like the U of L. Sorry. But somebody is, not me. Somebody is doing the University of Miami. Yeah.
So, is this something you can do remote?
Yeah, I think you could, but I think the worry is that nobody would make 200 calls, and so your sales percentage are like most people.
What about side?
Huh?
What about on the side?
I mean, yeah.
Do they hire part time?
No. See, I think the issue lies in the fact of like, if you're not in office, like you're not going to make 200 calls. You're not going to make 100 calls. You're going to make 50, and you're going to call it a day.
Well,
because
not necessarily.
I mean, you're going to have some highly motivated people, but like, how many people are of the same character value as of you?
Well, that's why you're you. What I'm getting at is,
right.
You haven't given your 2 weeks yet.
No,
is
not
there
yet.
Is there a way to say, I'd love to continue working for, part-time on a part-time basis and commit to, you're making 150 calls a day. That means 150, 300, 600, that's 750 calls in a week you're making. Okay, now cut that in half, and that's what is that? 325.
It's time
right? No,
it's
375.
It's time consuming.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that's 375. Say you can do less. Say you commit to 250 calls a week, and you get no salary. You only get the commission that you were getting on the stuff you get, but you're getting the salary you have with the new company.
I mean, maybe.
I don't know. If you could do it.
Yeah, if you could do it.
It's no skin off their back.
Right, but like, it comes down to me. Like, if it was something like I thoroughly enjoyed, like, and I was like calling leads that I was like, dude, this is sick. Okay, like, yeah, I could do that. But like, calling concrete company and construction companies that I don't have any reason for them to buy. I'm like, what am I doing? So like, if I got GameStop leads, or if I got, like leads that were, specific, okay, great.
Yeah.
But like the floor and decor guy, like, it was like, yeah, dude, we got extra money laying around. Like, it wasn't like, it was like no sweat off anybody's back. Like nobody was worried. Nobody was worried about $4,000 going into the University of Louisville's yearbook. So like, it doesn't make you feel like a POS for, putting somebody on the line. Like, so like a lot of rejections are, dude, I have no money. Like, we don't have the budget for that. Like, I would say that's 75 to 80% of the rebuttals.
Yeah.
Like,
there's nothing you can say to that either. You have to reason. You have to be like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we can break it into payment plans. We can push the payment until November. Like, okay, but like, I still don't, like, even in November, like, a lot of people are like, I still don't have the money. I'm like, and then you're like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's complicated, honestly, like mentally, like, and spiritually a little bit as well. So like, I want to shift
topics. In what
topics.
sense? Spiritually?
Well, because like on one of my drives home, I literally had the thought, I was like, dude, if I thought before I spoke, I would never speak.
If you thought before you spoke, you'd never speak. And with regard to this job, you're saying?
Life.
What does that mean?
I feel like when I speak, it's just I don't want to say it's not thought through, but a lot of times when I'm speaking, I'm thinking. So like when I'm talking to somebody, it's their thoughts coming out. It's not necessarily like an articulated message. So like I was driving
Well,
home.
that's okay.
It is okay.
It's only okay. It's only okay if you're not giving the advice as to you think this is what they need to do if you haven't done it yourself.
Well, so my dilemma, it kind of, I'll give you a little background. I rooted up with somebody that is getting emotionally involved. So when I'm thinking out loud, and then there's emotions involved, it becomes extra complicated. So it was kind of an outside of job thing. It was more of like a personal life thought.
Care to explain?
Yeah. So I'm here in St. Louis area, right? And my buddy Luca and I, have had this long-standing relationship since I don't know how long ago, 3 years, 4 years now, 2 years now. I don't know what it is. But anyway, you had this new job and you've loved it for quite some time. And you're like, hey man, like once something opens up, like I'm gonna put your name in this and that. And that's been going on for however long.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been, getting closer with a friend of mine that is of the opposite sex. And so I was, getting into the weeds of like, hey, like this opportunity is coming up. And so then the emotion comes into play. So her emotions are coming into play because I'm doing something for me, right? Like, and I'm moving away. I'm no longer going to be 20 minutes down the road. So then it's like every time I speak, she's trying to pick a fight with me over my words. Well, you said this 3 weeks ago. And I'm like it makes me not want to talk. It's because
you regret what you said 3 weeks ago?
Well, it's so much has changed since 3 weeks ago. This opportunity wasn't on the board 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like 3 weeks ago, like I had this job in St. Louis and I was sick of the drive. And I was like, man, I would love to have a place over, 20 minutes away instead of an hour away. Like opening up some free time for me to,
mm-hmm.
not be driving, like not extending my days by 2 hours each way or, total.
Yeah.
So then like that weekend, you sent me that voice memo and I'm listening to it and she overhears it and like immediate switch, like immediate emotion. And I'm like, not to say that it wasn't real, but to me, like I was just intaking information. So then we had like, instead of me staying
cut out, what'd you say?
On which part? Where did I stop?
You just said, you cut out.
Okay. So like you sent me a voice memo talking about, you want to put my name in for the job, this and that. And like, you wanted my approval or you wanted me to say yes, or however that went. And you were just giving me information about it. And to me, it wasn't real yet because, like, obviously I still had to go through the interview process. I still had to do this. I still had to say, yeah. I still had like, to me, like it was just a figment of my imagination. But it was immediately real and all the emotions started pouring out. So instead of me staying on my routine of getting to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock, now I'm dealing with emotions until 10, 11 o'clock because we have to have a 2-hour conversation about me moving to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And all the trauma that brings. And it's just like
based off of
just a text message.
You going against what you said or supposedly.
Right. Because I wanted to get an apartment last week, like 2 days ago in theory. Yeah. So it's just like, and so like, it's kind of been an ongoing battle. And like, it's just like, there's so much tension there. It's like, how do you deal with it? Well, I was like, now it's making me not want to speak because my words are just being used against me. So it's like if I ever thought, like if I thought before I speak, I would never speak. So like that's kind of where that background, like a little bit of a background story came from. And it was like, man, that's kind of like I don't want to say morbid, but it's kind of like it kind of opened my eyes a
Well,
little bit.
what I hear when you say that is I hear that you don't trust yourself.
It's not me. I'm looking out for somebody else's emotions. I'm putting somebody else ahead of mine.
If you can't care about someone else's emotions, if you're doing what's best
Right.
for you.
Right. Yes. And that's the confliction.
So one of the most powerful things I've ever heard in my life. One of the most powerful things I've ever heard in my entire life was Jordan Peterson had this interview back about 2018 or so. One of his famous conversations, interviews. And a person asked him something that something he said, something he did, and it was just kind of a spur of the moment type of thing. He was walking on the street somewhere. I don't know where he was. It was a fan came up to him and said something. He kind of had like a witty remark and whatever. But it was apparently controversial what he said. And the lady asked him about it, and she said, do you regret this? Do you think you would do this now?" Trying to get him, to, I guess, call him as a fraud. And whereas a politician would, let's say, "Oh no, I changed my view. I've done," he sat there and thought. He didn't answer for like 15 seconds. He just thought, and he said, "I'm not going to betray my former self. I did it for a reason. I stand behind it." And when I heard that, it gave me this understanding that it's okay to have things change over time, for you to change over time. It's okay for you to progress in the way you feel about something, notice you were wrong in the past. It's okay. But it's not okay to look back and say, "Oh, you acted in a way that wasn't you in that moment." If you're always acting in accordance to just who you are and how you feel, truly in your core in every moment, no matter if you progress or not, you can always look back and say, "I acted the best that I could in that moment because that's who I was." You can't expect anything more from me in that moment because I didn't experience anything else afterwards. I didn't know the things that was gonna create the version I am now. So I was being the best version of myself that I could then. For you, let's say it was a week. For you, let's say it was 3 days ago or 3 years ago, right? But if you can truly always say that, it's like, I'm not going to betray my former self. I trust that I was doing the right thing. I had the right intention in mind. I didn't have, I wasn't trying to spite anybody. I wasn't doing this. I wasn't trying to lie. I trust who I was.
And that's where I was. I was like, look, like I wasn't
Exactly.
lying. I wasn't lying.
So,
And so it just, but again, like I have to rationale with emotion, not
my
mine,
point of that saying that
not
though,
mine.
yeah, exactly. That's the hard part. But my point in saying that is you should not want to talk. The only reason you not want to talk, or you should not want to talk, is because you don't trust things that are coming out of your mouth are going to be in alignment with who you are. You don't feel like you're capable of that. And I've known you long enough to where I know that's not true. So just because someone's not going to interpret what you're saying the right way, right? And they're gonna hear that, because I was actually thinking this the other day, because in the past, when I've had some discussions, I've had some things this talent I disagreed about. She wasn't ever like that, but it's I don't know if it's women in general, but when they're looking for something, or people in general too, not just women, that when you're looking for something, you pick, you wait to hear the thing that's going to make your point. You hear it and then you pounce on it. And that's communication 101. It's like, what, you're not going to listen to what they're saying because you're waiting to make your point. You're formulating everything you're going to say in your mind because you want to justify it by one thing they say. You can't ration with that. You can't even have a conversation with that.
Amen.
So,
How'd you
I would
combat
say
that?
more so.
How'd you combat that?
Well, pick the person you're having the conversation with, first off.
Okay. Right.
And then second, you have to, if it's someone you're willing to work through that battle with, you need to have a conversation with them and say, okay, this is what's going on, and this can't happen. because you're not listening. And listen, Tally was never a problem with this. I've noticed it just a few times. She gets emotional, and you know, but it's never been an issue to where I have to address it. Because one of the things I love about her the most is that we get into a little argument about something, and the thing about me, I'm hard headed. If I know I'm not wrong, okay, I'm not gonna say I'm wrong. And I don't mean that as in, I'm never wrong. It's what in your core when you're being stubborn. In your core when it's just, am I crazy? What's going on? It's that moment, not the, oh, what do you mean? Well, I'm not wrong. I can do whatever I want. It's not that. But in certain situations where it's like, and I don't want to say morally, but like, I guess more of ethics, I guess. It's just, I know I'm not wrong. And she's going to see that. She's just she's being emotional right now. The thing I love about her, one of the things I love about her the most, is that she will send me a voice memo that night. It's at one point that day, after she's thought about it, and she'll say, I'm sorry. And I do the same for her, of course. Works both ways, but it's those things. And so it never became a problem. But if it is something that's a problem, then it's two things. Either you have to pick the person you're having these conversations with, and that's I think you can interpret that the way you want to interpret it, or if it's someone that it's worth growing through with these problems, then it's a tough conversation to what you're not happy about and what possibly could change if you just voice what you don't like. That's fine in a relationship. I don't like this. Why? Well, this has happened 1, 2, 3, 4 times, 5 times, and it allows me to not be able to communicate. You don't hear me. You don't hear what I'm saying. I'm not trying to hurt you. And if if it keeps happening, then it's just okay. Well, God has a plan.
You're taking the thoughts right out of my head, and that's my thing is, like, I'm trying to have better faith, and I'm like, if God wants this to be, then God will make it be. And like I've just kind of like I've changed the way I've gone about like relationships, in the fact of like I'm like, I don't want to say I'm hands off, but I let go of everything. Like I'm gonna show
what's
up
you're
as
saying? You let go of the expectations,
and I'm trying
to. They need to,
and I'm trying to live by it.
Yeah.
Trying to live by it. I wrote down. I've been reading We Who Wrestle with God during lunch break, and this goes with what we're talking about too. But I wrote it down because I want to talk about it between us. It says, start quote, if what is highest is not imitated and worshipped, things either fall apart as everything vies for predominance and confusion reigns, or something that is not meet is elevated to the status of God. Either way, all hell is liable to break loose. And when I read that, it just was like it. I kind of flashed back through my entire life. And
could you reread it? I'm sorry. I want to hear it again.
Yeah, I could do a better job of reading it too. If what is highest is not imitated and worshipped, things either fall apart as everything vies for predominance and confusion reigns. Okay. So things either fall apart as everything vies for predominance and confusion reigns. So like to me, like that was the main part that kind of caught my ear or caught my eye when I was reading it. Is like, if I'm not going after what is highest, then things fall apart as the predominance for everything else and confusion reigns. So it's like, if I'm not focused on what is best for like my spirituality, or my aim is off, if I'm aiming down or in Hinduism and things that aren't good for me, hedonism, thank you. And then confusion is going to come to the forefront. And like that was my whole
Your
thing.
confusion? Your confusion?
Yes. So like in this decision of, accepting this job or not, like I never really had any lack of clarity. Like I never was like, man, like I'm up in the air. Like the question that I was trying to answer that I like never really like received an answer to was why not?
Yeah. You said that.
And so like there was never confusion about it. There was never like that, like should I go? Should I not go? Like now the things that were like caused me trouble were I have to leave my family again. Like I have
Hmm.
to, and those things are tugging on my heart. And like that's where the emotion comes in. It's like, well, maybe, this is God's plan. Like maybe it's I'm not done leaving home yet. Like whatever it may be, and I just had to have faith that like for some reason he's opening up this door for me and I have to, explore it. And then the last part is or something that is not meat is elevated to the status of God. Either way, all hell is liable to break loose. So like what and my interpretation of that is something that is not of that status of God's status and is elevated to that status of God, then all hell is liable to break loose. So like when I put, baseball above God, when I put myself above God, when I put my ego above God, all hell is liable to break loose.
Is he talking about the golden calf?
This I'm in. Was this 7 or 8? This was 7 or 8. Yeah, and that's around the area that I'm close to. Yes, I believe that is exactly where I'm
That's
at.
because that's what I think of when I think of that saying. It's essentially that you can look at it through the lens of what you're praying to and what you idolize. The golden calf symbolizes obviously all the negative things that people idolize in their life, rather than putting their faith in the one thing that's consistent. They idolize everything else outside of that. Um, but that's what I think of, and I agree completely that your life will just be completely chaotic if you don't have your one thing you're striving to become. And the best version of yourself is in alignment with God. I don't think
Yeah,
that can
it's
be it can be seen any other way.
yeah, it's just trying to like walk in the footsteps of Jesus, and like I think that's kind of the I don't want to say in my terminology is kind of the message of the New Testament is like giving us a viable, actionable human being to, strive to be, even though like it will never I don't know if we'll ever get there, but you know,
Exactly. Yeah,
trying
I
to
agree with
walk
that
in
completely.
walk in that manner in order to, have that aim, have that
What did
spiritual.
it? What did that quote, that part in that book? What did that make you think of in yourself? Why did it speak to you?
Well, it was just like make sure I'm putting him first before everything else, and like I just went back and flashed back through time of my decisions and what I was doing. It's like, man, whenever I was not putting him first, like like you said, it was chaos. There was a lot of confusion. Like, am I
Hmm.
supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? Like right now in this moment, I don't have that
You don't have that. In what
that
sense?
that confusion. I'm not
Yeah.
wondering what I should be doing.
Well, is
Like
it a coincidence that you feel that this opportunity is a sign from God?
I've said that. Like I said,
Exactly.
whenever like kind of how we've talked about it is like, or I don't know, rationalized it, thought about it, but I wasn't ready for the job opportunity, and it was given to one of my good friends, and that was you. Like, or the opportunity was granted to you because like she you said like she was looking for me, but like she's talked to you, and like you were like, man,
Exactly.
that's really interesting. Like, and all of a sudden like you took it and ran. But like at that specific point in time in my life, I was not done with ball. Like I was
Yeah.
not ready. I was not ready to quit. So like it wasn't like the opportunity may have been directed at me in air quotes, but in my opinion, it was meant for you, you know. And
Yeah.
now that my career or my life is opening up into that time frame, like he's opening up that door, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why at the beginning, when I spoke to her, I think it was a day or two after you got released. She said, because she knew we were close, she said, "Oh, like, I'm so sorry to hear about Zach. It's terrible, blah blah blah." And then she, mentioned what her son did. Part of me when I was listening, I said, "Zach's not done. Zach doesn't want this." And I was talking to you, whatever, a little later, and you said that you were going to indie ball and stuff. So I said, I'm not even gonna mention this to him. He's not even at the place mentally, and that was it. And then when I found out about my thing, about a month later, let's say, I knew that what was the writing was on the wall. I wasn't getting the surgery. Um, yeah, it was crazy how things worked out. And then this year, I just had this thing when I reached out to you the first time. I told it to you. I said, this job was essentially meant for you. And
Yeah.
I was the one who benefited from it, because if it weren't for you getting released, I wouldn't have heard about this. The opportunity was meant for you. And then things happened for me, and I just was curious about the opportunity, and I ended up having that conversation, and things progressed in my favor as well. But I just had this thing. I said, Zach needs this opportunity. Whether he says no or yes, different. But you have to offer it to him. Even though you think that he's a farmer, and he probably won't even want to do it, and it'll be a tough transition for him. That you don't even know if he has a science background, this and that. I knew he didn't have a science background. I said, you have to give him. This is his opportunity. And he said no, and I said, all right. And it happened again. I said, I gotta call Zach. So I'm glad it all transpired. Say the way it could have easily could have been the other way around.
And like I had, like I said, the timing, I had to go through different steps to figure out,
Yeah.
in order to, me be open to his plan, right? And I'm notorious for taking the long way home, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of like my thoughts about it. And like I said, it was not an easy decision by any stretch of the imagination. Like that week weighed on me quite a lot, quite heavily.
Which decision to take this offer?
Yeah, and I guess I'm still waiting back to see if like my background check and all that stuff comes through. But yeah, well, it was just like that week of like the Friday was the deadline. It was like those Wednesdays and Thursdays, they were tough, because I was, what do I do? Like, do I stay in something that I'm not passionate about in hopes of something better to come? Something better is coming. Something better is here. Now, there's obviously challenges, and there's burdens, and there's struggles within new opportunity. But it's like, well, like I said, I have yet to come up with why not. And I still have, it's written in my journal with a blank page. Why not?
Mm-hmm. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I don't know what the future holds, but the challenge, I think, will be what pushes you. If that makes, obviously that might be cliche, maybe obvious, but
Well, yeah, it's learning something new. It's taking like, and then getting comfortable and learning. It's kind of like what you talked about last week. Like, it's that constant ebb and flow of, okay, like I'm learning it, I'm having more confidence, and then all of a sudden something happens, and you're like, dude, I know nothing. And
yeah.
all of a sudden you're learning about that, and then and I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the future holds, but I know who I am, at least. I know what I bring to the table.
Exactly. And we've talked about, that's just as important as anything else. You can learn the stuff, you can learn the material. You're not going to be a doctor, of course, but all the anatomy, physiology, all these things you got to learn, you're going to learn. With due time,
Well,
you'll learn them.
And my thing is like with baseball, I learned a lot about the body. Like I learned a lot like doing yoga and foam rolling and stretching. And now I don't know the technical scientific terms, but like as far as learning about the body and how the brain works, like we did that a lot. Like we talked about a lot of that stuff, and now we were not using, neuroscience terms, but I mean we were talking about things of that nature.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
lot. So it's like it's definitely something that piques my interest as far as like something I talk about on a daily basis. Now it's you know instead of 4 letter words, we're using 15 letter words.
Yeah.
I,
I
you know,
think
like
I think you'd be surprised. In order to do the actual job itself, just to perform it, you know what I mean, not sitting here being able to interpret it better, and there's a lot of steps to it, but just the bare minimum to be able to do the job. Muscles you need to know, stuff like that. Uh, you'll be fine. And then it's when the hard part is when the surgeons are asking you. You got to know it.
yeah,
So,
right.
so they're asking you, you know, yeah, just yesterday for 2 days ago, you guys, the surgeons putting screws in the guy's back. We test the screws. They want it to go around. They asked the stems up to 20 milliamps, and if you get no response at 20 milliamps, that means that the threshold isn't breached. Meaning, the stem we're putting into the screws that go into the pedicles, basically, it's not getting dispersed outside the bone, which could put like create issues for the nerves and stuff like that. A lot of people with osteoporosis or anything like that, with the brittle bone and stuff like that, the current will spread faster through the bone because it's not as dense. So, um, anyways, all the screws, I think they put four in, or five, or 4 or 6. They wouldn't put five typically, but they all tested like 20 or higher. They're all good, and then one got 12. It was left L5, got 12, and he just looked at me. He goes, "Are we okay? Do I need to adjust the screw? Is that fine?" And I mean, the literature shows that if as long as it's above 10 milliamps, that's at least company policy, and the literature shows that it shows a quality screw placement. So I told him, I said, "Yeah, literature shows that's fine. It's not 20, but you're good." He looked at me, he said, "Okay," and he kept going. So they ask you questions. Early on, early on, dude. I remember Dr. Vengeance was the guy's name. Um, he there was an issue with motors. I didn't have like motors. The motor test we were running, one of the patient's hands, I forget, towards the final motors, um, it didn't match baseline. So basically, something, I wouldn't say something happened or he did something, um, but sometimes things happen. Arm goes numb, blood pressure cuff, something, I don't know. But the left hand or right hand was a little weaker than it was at baseline, and obviously you have to tell him it. And I remember he asked me, dude, he said, "Is it a cortex issue or is it a nerve root issue?" And I said, "What the fuck are you asking me for?" I said, "I don't know." But this is also within 50 surgeries being on my own at the beginning. And now, if I get that same question, it's obvious. It's just, well, if it's a cortex issue, he's asking me if it's anesthesia or if it's something he did. That's all he's asking me. I didn't know. I had no idea what he was saying. I'm like, what? How do I know? So I said, "I'm not sure if I'm qualified to answer that question, doctor." He said, "Okay." So I answered it properly, I guess.
Well, to the best of your
But
ability without,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I wasn't gonna say, "Yeah, you're good," and sitting there praying to God. The guy wakes up and move his hand. Like, I don't know. That's not my job. I don't have that qualification to say that. But that's all he's asking me. He's asking me if is it a cortex issue, meaning anesthesia, because anesthesia affects the brain, affects the cortex of the brain. So a lot of times with the stimulation, where we're stimulating from the frontal cortex, if there's any type of gas, any type of things that could, uh, relax that part of the brain more than it needs to be, then it's going to affect the whole chain, obviously. So that's what he's asking me. Is it a nerve root issue or cortex? Anesthesia or what I did? Because I touched the nerve root. I didn't touch the brain. Okay.
So did he go over that with you, like at the end, or did you have to figure that out, or
No, no,
ask
no. Oh,
somebody
I
else?
figured. No, I just did. No, I just kept doing about 125 surgeries more, and then I figured it out. No, but I thought about it for a little bit, and I honestly didn't understand. I just kept. I don't know. I just didn't get why he'd asked me that, and then it just kind of things happened. I was studying for other things more and more, and it just kind of clicked one day. I was just like, well, he asked me that, and motors get affected when you run like a Mac of gases, like you'll get into that, but like they gas for anesthesia. There's intravenous and then there's gas, halogenated, something like that. Halogenated gas is what it's technically called. Sevoflurane, all these things they use for that are halogenated, and then you have like propofol and stuff like that. They do intravenous, and that's what typically was best for us. Intravenous is the best for us, but some anesthesiologists like to use gas. We request to half Mac, and typically if they use more than half Mac, the cortex of the brain starts to be a little more kind of deep, I guess you could say. And so a lot of our sensory exams go, the attenuations and amplitudes go down. And motors, the whole chain from the cortex down to the most distal hand and foot, that whole chain is attenuated. It's just not functioning at the proper level because there's something that the top is like relaxed. It's not an accurate depiction of what's actually going on in the person's body. And it has a direct relation to the gas. So I was saying that, I'm like, well, if that's the case, then that would be a cortex. So was he just asking me, is it anesthesia or a nerve root? Probably. Okay. So it's just doing it and studying and just like, you just learn things over time. I mean, learning things, SCPs, these different, the sensory tests we're running. I've learned so many things about, what to look for and stuff. And at the beginning, I didn't know as much, and they tell you that, you're going to learn more in the field than you will in any class doing it every day. And granted, we have a neurologist that works with us too, that helps us out a lot, because we're not technically able to say, like, I can't answer that question and say, yeah, doctor, there's a nerve root issue. I think I think you messed up on screw L4. I can't say that. Even if I know it to be true, which I'm not saying I do, because only in certain cases I can actually, it's that obvious to us where we can tell. But I'm not qualified to say that. My company gets sued out the ass for me saying that because I'm not a doctor. I don't have an MD. So the neurologist is the one who's interpreting stuff, and he's the one that backs us when we say things, like if we have to say anything like that. Our neurologist interpreted this. It's not our words, it's the neurologist. Because he's an MD. We're working under his license. That's how our whole job works. We're able to do what we do. We're sitting nerve physiologists in the operating room. We don't have an MD, but we're able to be there doing the things we're doing because we work under the license of an MD. And that gives us a qualification to be able to be there and do the things we're doing. If we don't have the neurologist with us, we can get in a lot of trouble. And of course, there's some instances where I've run into where the neurologist just doesn't sign in, and I have a hard time getting a hold of them. And they sign in late, and then there's nothing we can do about it. But yeah, there's the whole background stuff to it. But it's what I'm trying to get at with all that is just doing it over and over again and just learning things and studying slowly but surely with this for the CNM exam and learning things and seeing things. It's just like, oh, okay, makes perfect sense. I wish I knew this when I first started. Made my life a hell of a lot easier. Little things just like a electrode placement distance. You put electrodes in muscles, they should be 2 centimeters away from each other instead of closer. A lot of times they just put them in, just stick them. And a lot of times they'll be too close to where they kind of like X each other out. So when you run motor exams, really you have to really measure the stimulus going into the muscle, and the response. That's what you're measuring. The current that goes through the body. The electrodes are picking that up. When they're too close to each other, basically it cancels each other out, so you don't get a response in that muscle. It's fine, really, if it's your bicep, your forearm, because you're really looking for motors. You're looking for hands and feet, the most distal. Odds are If the current's traveling to the most distal part of your body, in your limbs, your hands, and your feet, then that chain isn't. There's nothing wrong with that chain. So when you don't have the foot, and it's like, well, that's the furthest part. So is something wrong in between that? From the cortex of the foot or cortex of the hand, is that chain messed up? But if you don't have the delt, bicep, and forearm, but you have the hand, you can pretty much say, okay, that at least that nerve root is properly working in the longest or in the most distal part. But at the beginning, I didn't realize how much it mattered for the how far away the electrodes were from each other. And Sanira, we're studying, and she was saying about motors and how the electrodes need to be at least 2 centimeters away from each other to get a proper response, so they can communicate between each other. I said, do I do that far enough? I don't know. I'll just be more conscious of it, dude. For the last week and a half, I've put them. I swear I've gotten every muscle group down the chain, nearly every time. And I'm just like, you got to be fucking kidding me! It's that. It's something so small, and you just learn these things. There's the homunculus in your brain. There's like a strip where it's basically the sensories behind and then the motors in the front. And the closer you can get to that homunculus, that strip where this is, well, yeah, that basically controls your limbs. So the further lateral is, closer, let's say feet, your face and hands, stuff like that. The more medial you go, is your feet, is like lower extremity stuff. So that's how it works. So when you're running your motors, you want to have the electrodes, more medial and then 2 lateral. So 2 medial, 2 lateral. And the closer you can get to this motor cortex, the better your responses are going to be. The further if you're more front, it's not you're going to get good responses, but you're not right on top of it. And it's just stuff like that. At the beginning, I was putting them too frontal because I wanted to just, with patient variability, I wanted to just not give myself problems because it's not going to be in the same place every person. But yeah, there's a lot of things you just learn by doing it. And it's just it's cool to see you actually getting better. Like your signals are better. I was training a girl, and I was looking at her SCP signals, and they were just shitty. I said, wow. Not because she's shitty, it's just because the electrode placement wasn't, she put them a little too far front, and she wasn't getting around top of the sensory cortex. So she was getting a little mixed signals between motors and sensories, or like she wasn't right on top of the sensories basically. So that was her issue. They were too far away from each other, too close, or you don't realize until you see stuff like that. It's like, oh, I've gotten better over time, because I'm not saying I was exactly like that when I started. So these are all things that are going to make way too much sense for you in a few months. But
let's hope.
But yeah, it's fun, and it gets better as you get better at it, of course. And but yeah, I learned a lot about your job. That was fun.
Yeah, a little
I'm
too
curious
much
about it. No, I was curious about it. Yeah, we can always edit.
I'm just kidding. I don't care.
But I'd probably be careful with saying doctors' names. I didn't say anything bad about them.
No.
But yeah, so I was always curious about. I know what you did, but I actually know what you do now. I understand, and not like I know what you do, but I understand the struggle of the job. When you understand the struggle of someone's job, you can understand the job a little better.
Yeah, correct.
So, maybe it'll help you with not wanting to getting so good at speaking that you won't want to not talk.
Maybe I'll have it figured out by then. I doubt it, but we'll see.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Appreciate you guys listening. A little more light conversation this week, just kind of getting into, honestly, Zach and I's job. We never really talked about it very much. So, hope you guys learned a little bit about sales and what that entails, and a little bit about neurophysiology, and all interesting stuff. But thanks for listening. Appreciate you guys, and we'll be here next week. See ya.
There you go.
Little life outside of ball.